Hey everybody, it's Nilay from The Verge, and this is the iPhone X. We've been waiting for this phone for a long time now, and there's a lot of major changes here. There's no more home button, no more fingerprint sensor. You unlock it just by looking at it. There's a whole new library of gestures and swipes. There's some camera upgrades. There's the first OLED screen on an iPhone. That's a lot of big bets on the future of phones, and quite honestly, a lot of unanswered questions. First, there's the notch. There it is. There's no getting around it. There's no point in pretending it's not there. But I'm going to tell you that after a few days, it's fine. It's definitely annoying in landscape, especially when you're watching video. If you zoom, the notch will definitely cut into the side of the video. This is a phone that's designed to be used in portrait. Apple gave us the white and silver model of the iPhone X to review, and although Apple says the band on the outside is better than surgical-grade stainless steel, mine already has scratches and dings. So I wouldn't expect this phone to remain flawless if you don't have a case. And, of course, there's no headphone jack, which sucks on every single phone that omits it. I hope you're ready to buy expensive Bluetooth headphones, because the dongle life is terrible. So, notch aside, the screen is great. Apple's using a 5.8-inch Samsung-manufactured OLED display, which it says it custom designed for the iPhone X. It's a bigger number than the iPhone 8 Plus's 5.5-inch display, but it's a taller, thinner aspect ratio. When you run apps that aren't optimized for the 10, they just run with huge software bezels, and the whole thing looks just like an iPhone 8. A lot of you asked us about screen burn-in, and I haven't seen any yet. But it's early, and I asked Apple about it, and they told me that they've also done a lot of work with the screen and in the operating system to limit burn-in. Every OLED screen eventually does suffer burn-in though, so we're just gonna have to wait and see if the iPhone X is really better than the competition. You can point a cheap camcorder with night vision at the iPhone X to see Face ID working, so we did that, and it's awesome. The iPhone X has an IR light, a dot projector, and an IR camera all tucked into that notch at the top of the screen. You don't have to use it. You can just leave it off and enter a passcode. But I think you're gonna want to use it because most of the time it works great. You look at your phone, it unlocks. There are a couple of times when it doesn't work just great, and you're gonna have to adjust to make it work better. I had some problems with Face ID walking around in bright sunlight and under some weird fluorescent lights, and a lot of you noticed that I tend to hold my phone pretty far away from myself when I'm walking around. I asked Apple about it. They told me the optimum distance for Face ID is between 25 and 50 centimeters, or about 10 to 20 inches, and that's a little bit closer than how I normally hold my phone. I actually have a measuring tape here. Here's 20 inches, and this is definitely a little bit closer than where I normally hold the phone. The iPhone X has basically the same cameras as the iPhone 8, and the photos look almost exactly the same. And I tend to prefer the photos from the Pixel 2. The back of the iPhone X has two optically stabilized 12-megapixel cameras, one with an f1.8 wide-angle lens and the other with an f2.4 telephoto. That stabilized telelens is great. These are probably the best zoom photos I've ever taken on a phone, and it is amazing to shoot 6x zoom video in 4K and have it be sharp and usable. The two rear cameras allow for portrait mode, which works as well as portrait mode on the 8 Plus and also supports portrait lighting. The front camera supports portrait mode and portrait lighting, but I don't think it's very good. You have to learn a whole bunch of new gestures to navigate this phone, and it's basically fine. Once you get used to swiping up to unlock the phone, it's pretty easy to also get used to swiping up to go back to the home screen. You know what is fun though? Emoji. We got a lot of questions and comments about this too, and I completely stand by saying they're the best feature of the iPhone X in the preview video. They are a joy. They work great, and everyone I showed them to loves them. Apple says the iPhone X should get 2 hours more battery life than the iPhone 7, and while it's been pretty hard to test this week while we've been running the screen and cameras full tilt for this video, I've been pretty impressed. Just based on what I've seen this week and based on what I know from the iPhone 8, I would expect to go about a full day with the iPhone X. Just like the iPhone 8, the iPhone X supports Qi wireless charging, which means if you have a car like this BMW M550, you can just drop it on the pad and it'll charge up while you go. So a lot of people asked if the iPhone X is really worth $1,000. It's the most expensive iPhone ever made, and I just don't think there's an easy answer to that question. If you have the money and you're in love with the design, you should buy the iPhone X. I think you're really gonna like it. It's a great phone. But if you have any doubts at all, you should stick with the 8 or the 8 Plus. You'll get almost all of the same features. You'll get to wait out app developers updating everything for this screen, and you'll be able to just get this phone in a couple years when every iPhone looks like the iPhone X. The rest of us will just be playing with Emoji in the meantime.